Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's a plan for today. We're going to start as usual with the attendance. Then we're starting a new block. This is the public speaking block. In this block, in this module, we're going to simulate the conference situation, and we'll talk about how to deliver your effective speech in English and how to structure your presentation effectively. And today we're going to have the introductory class. We'll talk about presentation mistakes, and we'll also speak about the structure and about the delivery of an effective presentation. That's the plan for today. And let me start with the attendance. I'm going to call your names out.
Excuse me, can you please repeat the plan for today?
Excuse me?
Can you please repeat the plan for today? I didn't get it.
Well, the plan for today is to have the introductory class on the presentation. So module 2 is about effective presentation. We'll take a look at the syllabus. We'll take a look at the grading criteria. We'll speak about how to structure your presentation effectively, how to deliver your presentation effectively, all that sort of things. That's the plan. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now the attendance. Calling your names, please sound off. Nursultan Askarbekulu.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay. Imra Alberto Delgado Villanueva. He's just joined. All right. G. Lemony.
I'm here.
Okay. Anton Yegorov.
I'm here.
All right. Shahista Ergasho.
I'm here.
Okay. Yusuf Yusri Nasser Ibrahim. Okay. Rabiul Islam.
I'm here.
All right. Sirajuddin Kamolov. Emmanuel Luele. Swati Mega. She's joining just now. Right. Ruslan Plетнев.
I'm here.
Okay. Manuel Alejandro Rodriguez Osuna.
I'm here.
All right. Hamza Salem.
I'm here.
Okay. Sami Selami.
I am here.
All right. Arslan Siddiq.
Yes, I am here.
All right. Valeria Skvartsova.
I'm here too.
Okay. Javier Antonio Vasquez Zelada.
I'm here.
All right. Vladimir Antipov.
I'm here.
Okay. Dmitry Popov.
I'm here.
Okay. And Ms. Puzankova is absent. All right. So,
Professor Sri just like entered, like.
yeah, I've marked you as present.
Professor, I'm also here, Swati.
Yeah, I marked you. Wait,
Okay.
wait a second. Let me check. Swati. Yeah, I've marked you as present.
Okay, thank you.
Right. We're going to start with the syllabus. Let's take a look at the syllabus, and let's make sure that everybody understands what we're going to do during the module. I'm sending the link to you. Sending one to your Zoom chat. I'm also sending the link to your Telegram group. Right, please open it. Now, let me also share my screen with you. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, So as I said, we're starting a new module. This module is going to simulate your conference situation. So your ultimate deliverable for this module is a graded presentation on your research essay. So you're going to speak about whatever you wrote about in your research essay. Okay. And in between, you will have to do quite a lot of practice. You will study some vocabulary appropriate for the presentation environment. And we'll speak about presentation formats, and we'll talk about call for papers, and we'll have a bit of vocabulary for you to be able to do that as well. An important part of this module is question and answer session. We'll talk about how to ask questions, and we'll also talk about some strategies of answering questions. This is a very brief point. I mean, a very brief description of whatever we're going to do during the module. Now let's take a look at the grading criteria. I'm going.
Can
Yeah.
I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Related to the topic of the presentation, why we should stick with our essay topic? Can we choose another topic, or is there any like reason, specific reason for that?
Well, generally, I guess I would not have problems with you changing a topic. If you feel like changing your topic, you can surely do so. Just let me know first. The logic behind all that is that we're simulating the whole publication conference process. So during module 1, you were preparing your paper, and in a way, you were submitting your paper to the evaluation committee. Okay, so it's like you're writing your research publication first, and then you're presenting your publication at a conference or at some other research event. So that was the logic behind the whole thing. Thumbs up?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Right. Okay. Grading criteria. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Please go through the grading criteria, read them, and ask me questions, if any. You got 1 minute left. All right, it's time. Any questions? Okay, I'm stopping the demonstration then. What I'm going to do now is to show you a short video from the Silicon Valley. I believe you are familiar with the show. Anyway, that clip is about presentations, and I want you to watch and take a close look for presentation mistakes. And after the video, I will put you in groups and you will discuss like the worst presentation mistakes a person can make.
Could I ask, Professor?
Yes, please.
The presentation structure should be the same like an essay, kind of, it should be some literature review, or what's there kind of thesis details I should present?
Generally, your presentation will be similar to the structure of your essay. Generally speaking, any piece of communication is similar in an essence. First, you have your introduction. In the introduction, you tell your listeners what you're going to tell them. Then you've got your body. It can be a body of your presentation. It can be a body of your article. And in the body, you actually tell your audience what you want to tell them. And then finally, you got your conclusion. In the conclusion, you tell your audience what you've just told them. So that three-part, composition is common for any type of human communication.
Yeah, I got it about structure, but it should be some literature review, right? Kind of.
In a way, as I told Hamza, the idea was for you to present your research essay. But if you're not comfortable with that, you can choose any other topic and you can deliver a presentation of that other topic.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the syllabus or on the module plan or grading criteria? All right, let me share my screen with you. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, please watch the video and pay attention to the presentation mistakes.
Hello, my name is Saeed Jabrani. I am the CEO of Ametabug, and we're here to revolutionize.
Professor, we cannot see the screen.
Sorry, we see the black
hear
screen.
voice.
Is it okay?
You see the black screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Saeed.
let me try again. Just a second. Let me try again. How about now? Is the screen black?
Yep.
Still black?
Yep.
No,
like we can
no,
see
it's
the
not
image.
black. No, it's not
It's
black.
black?
It's visible.
Oh.
It's visible.
Now it's okay.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm starting the video now.
Hello, my name is Saeed Chabrani. I am the CEO of Ametabug, and we're here to revolutionize the way you report bugs on your mobile platform.
Rather than heating an entire room, Human Heater is a microwave technology that can heat the surface of a person's skin instead, potentially saving millions in heating costs and helping the environment, thereby making the world a better place.
Judges.
Okay, so you want to heat people with microwaves. Is that right?
That can't be safe.
That's a great question, and trust me, it is very, very safe. I've been working on it for 15 years.
I don't trust you, and it can't be safe. And even if it was, I don't think you could ever sell the public on this.
Thank you. The microwaves only penetrate the top layer of skin cells.
I don't believe you. It can't be safe.
Thank you. I've been testing it on these guys all winter, and they're fine. Let me just demonstrate it to assure you.
No one is ever going to buy one of these. Ever.
That was Human Heater. Next up, Executive Chairman and Chief Visionary Ehrlich Bachman presenting Pied Piper.
Since the dawn of time, mankind has sought to make things smaller, but until now,
Right. That was the video. What I want you to do now is to work in groups of 3 and to think again what are the worst presentation mistakes that you can think of. I will give you 5 minutes and I will bring you back in 5 minutes. Do you understand what you have to do?
Yep.
Okay. There will be one group of 3, one group of 2.
Professor, do you think you can provide us the link of the video or the video? Well, not the video; it will be too long. Do you think where we can find the video? I mean, just to make some pauses and make some remarks if we need to.
Well,
it's not available.
Well, I actually made it myself.
So forget it. It's fine.
Right. Anyway, I'm opening the groups. You will have 5 minutes. Please get in. Presentation mistakes. Okay, we're waiting for everybody to get back from their rooms.
We're back.
Right, okay, this is what you're going to do now. This is the link to a Google Doc. Please follow the link and copy whatever mistakes you found out. And then we're going to discuss 3 minutes, please.
I'm sorry, Professor, have you sent this link to Telegram?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Just a sec. Link sent. All right, let's discuss those. For the time being, we're going to concentrate on the presentation side. We're not going to take into account the judges, okay, and the questions. Just the presenter. So number one, running away from the question, not answering them. How's that bad? Can you explain?
Like when judges were asking one question, he wasn't answering this exact question, but started to tell about the experiment results.
How's that bad? He was answering the question, right? He was saying something. He was not just silent. How's that bad?
Yeah, but
Why?
he was not answering concretely this exact question. He was kind of trying to redirect the question to his own own field of, I don't know.
field of study, you mean? Like,
Yeah.
right.
What he wanted to say, he just redirected the question to this side, not answering the question exactly.
Makes sense. Thank you. Number 2.
And
yeah, go ahead.
one additional opinion about that, it's when judges were asking and there were no answer, just thank you and that's all. It's not good. There is no answer.
I see. So he simply did not answer the question, just said thank you. All right, thanks. How about the second one? Sometimes the voice of presenter was too loud. How's that bad?
Yeah, it was like sometimes it was just kind of shouting at the judges. It wasn't like pleasant to even to hear, even to watch.
Like, are you saying that it was impolite?
Yes. Exactly.
I see, thank you. So the idea of the presentation was not defended correctly. That's number 3. Can you explain?
So, yeah, it is true that he had not a good idea, but he could present it correctly, right? He didn't want to accept judges' opinion, but
I think the way he was presenting the facts was not correct. So he was not trying to put forward his views or, on based of the facts, but rather he was trying to argue, kind of. So if he will put his idea with supported by the research, the facts and figures, it would be more convincing.
Right. So the guy did not resort to the facts. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. He was just stressing on that, he conducted this experiment and he can show the experiment, but he is not the researcher. I mean, or if he is the researcher and he is credible to perform any kind of experiment, he should first introduce that, maybe I am the researcher and I did this experiment and this is why it is credible. Or he should give reference to someone who is credible. Convince people. Yeah,
I see. Makes sense. Let's move on to number 4. The presenter was arrogant. I understand the tradition is that Shahista answers all the questions.
I think this,
I think it also matches with my point at the end that he was laughing and kind of non-serious on such a professional platform. They were asking serious questions, and instead of presenting facts, he was a little bit laughing. That's why I think he was arrogant.
I think he was sarcastic in a manner that, he thinks that the people sitting there don't have enough knowledge and he is the one who conducted the experiment. So when one of the person asked the question that no, it is not safe, then he gave this laugh. No, it is safe. So it's like a sarcasm.
I see.
I want to add something that he actually say a lot of time that it will be revolutionary for world, but he actually focus on very specific community, like you make a X-ray with a specific community, not for the world. So it can benefit with specific people or specific community, not for the everyone cannot be happy. So that's is the arrogant Shikabar, because he actually force this community to the world.
I see, makes sense. Thanks, I see. How about number 5? Don't say it is good question, it is not. Can you?
So every time he actually say this is thank you for the good question. Actually, he does not know how it is work. So that's why it is kind of ignorance that I cannot know that answer. So I will say, okay, this is the good question, or they skipped a question, but this is not bad for the presentation.
Why is it bad for the presentation?
So you put, they actually put a slide, actually he know, because if he don't know that, or there is a misconception, why he put as a slide? He cannot refer that, okay, I borrow from this author or that author. That will be the authentic answer. But if he does not know, then why he put in the slide or why he put on that demonstration? So that's actually bad.
Right, I see your point.
Professor, for this the fifth point, don't say it's a good question. And just to clarify, for example, it's not polite to say that it's a good question or a bad question. It's a polite to say for the person, thank you for your question, and after it you will answer. So this is the good, like the good reply. I remember that I faced the same thing in one of the conference that I was presenting a paper, and it was like, I will not say it's a bad question, but it seems that the person that he want to ask, he want to show his, for example, experience or knowledge or whatever. And I answer and said, thank you for your question. And I answer, and little bit, it's not like, let's say he was not happy with the answer, but that's it. This is my answer. So you should be polite, but don't say that it's good or bad. Leave it to the audience to judge if it's a good or bad question. But thank the person for that.
But how can saying that this is a good question can be impolite? You're actually complimenting a person on the question.
Yes, but I will not say it's a good question or a bad question. I just thank the person about the question, because sometimes if you will stay, for example, in his case, he was saying good question, but it's not a good question. Why you say it? It's a bad question, for example.
By the way, what can be the reason for saying something like that?
I guess it's the genre that everyone should be polite now in the world, and so you should be polite, and they think that you should praise the person who will ask you in a conference to just like to at least to make the atmosphere good, but it's not, you just say the right word, don't compliment something don't deserve compliment. You just say the right word. Thank the person for his question, but don't say it's a good or bad. Maybe it's a good, you say it, but don't say it also it's a bad, but don't say about bad question is a good question. That's it.
Yeah, but also like if you're saying one of the question as good question, then you have to say everything explicitly. Otherwise, other questions are bad question, right?
Yes.
I see. Makes sense.
That's it.
Right. By the way, another function of saying that this is a good question is buying for time.
Yes.
So if you need some time to think, you can use this phrase. I think it can be okay. I think this is what the guy was going for. The thing is that the presenter obviously was not prepared enough, and that is, I mean, that buying time phrase was probably anything and everything that he could speak about.
But we can buy time by saying that thank you for the question, and then take a pause to think and then explain.
It is actually a multi-stage thing. You can start by, well, it depends on how much time you need to buy. You can start with thanking for the question, and you can say it's a good question. Then you can rephrase the question like that. So you know there's a bit of strategy behind it.
Okay.
Okay, how about number 6? Saying that he did experiments on people, how's that bad in terms of...
It was actually very funny, like he was treating people as like subject, like mouses and rats.
Yeah. Right. It's a comedy.
But some musician did it on the people, so for the experiment. So it actually depends on which situation is good and which is bad.
But we're concentrating on the presentation. So how's that bad in terms of presentation?
think it was not a
It's a-
formal way to put forward your subject. Like even in I don't know, ethically, if you perform some experiment on some person, you just do not present the subject. I don't know. There's some non-disclosure agreement and stuff. So instead that you should present the data, and you can say that I can support it. You know, if you need evidences or something. But like presenting three people straightforward that I conducted an experiment on this, I don't think it's ethical to do that.
So it has something to do with ethics, not exactly with the presentation.
Yeah, but presentation is I think the composition of everything, like how you present your data. So instead of presenting the people, he should have presented the data, what he took it out, and then maybe say that, okay, we have the subjects, we can give you the data about the subject if you personally want to meet or something like that. But I don't think this is the good way to present.
I see, makes sense. Let's talk about number 7, avoiding eye contact. How is that bad?
I think this is not bad, exactly.
I think
all the time
this
you
Right.
based
avoid
based
eye.
Okay, Hamza, go ahead, please.
Sorry. It is based on your audience and based on in your personality. Some people avoid eye contact because they will feel like not comfort when they're saying. For me, at least in my presentation in general, I choose 3 or 4 people in the different places in the hall and try to focus on them. Not just because I don't want to look to everyone, I can look to 1,000 people, but in general, this can give me like focus on these people and try to give them all the information, and everyone will see that I'm looking to them, for example, in different section. So yeah, this is one of the strategy for good, but it's based on the person. Sometimes some of the people they don't have like any eye contact with the people, with some people, and they have like a really good presentation. And yeah, examples for that.
I see. Swati?
Yeah, that is what my point was also, that not everyone actually we cannot do eye contact with everyone. And also in terms of confidence, sometimes it's if the audience is not very welcoming, or in this case, so it's very demotivating to have a continuous eye contact. So I think it's okay not to have the eye contact all the time, but in a way that they should not feel that the person is like lost somewhere.
Do you think it will be okay for a presenter to look down all the time during the whole time of the presentation?
No, like not in the same position, not like staring at one place, but not necessarily looking into the eyes, but looking like like just gazing, like moving your head from left to right it would be enough, even if you don't have like staring into the eyes.
I see.
I think you have to show that you're confident. You and you know what are you doing at this time. And eye contact. This is one of the easiest way to show your confidence. I mean.
Right. So with European culture, with Western culture at least, maintaining eye contact is a sign of confidence. And if you avoid eye contact, it could influence your image, your positive image. So I guess this would makes it bad. So you might be real careful with at least looking at somebody during the presentation. At least for a Westerner, failing to maintain eye contact is not the sign of confidence.
It's like aggressive act, you mean?
Yeah, what I mean is that if you're maintaining something And if you're not a person into the face, all right, chances are that you will not be perceived as professional and as confident. Therefore, avoiding eye contact might be bad, since we're talking about delivering a research presentation. If you do not look, as Hamza said, you can choose 1 or 2 or 3 people in the audience, and you look at them, thereby creating the feeling that you are looking at the audience directly, that you're maintaining eye contact. That's the reason why avoiding eye contact is generally considered to be bad. All right, thank you. For question answering, I think we've discussed.
Yeah.
Right. Next one is number 9. Too much content in the presentation, very small text in bottom of slide. Could you guys comment on that?
Yeah, actually, in the video, they highlighted actually that for some time the presentation was shown, and in that presentation, there was too much text at the bottom, something like copyright or something like that. So even it was highlighted that it's a bad practice.
But why is it bad?
Because it diverts the attention. Instead of hearing to the presenter, the person gets too much involved in reading the slide in very small text. That is not the main purpose. They should listen to the presenter. That's more important.
Right, so it's distracting.
Yeah.
Makes sense, thank you. Number 9, he was laughing and sarcastic on such a professional platform.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of covered that he was just completely laughing at the question and kind of sarcastic a little bit.
Right, so once again, you might want to go neutral during your presentation.
Yeah, kind of serious.
Right, and number 10, the first person should attract attention to the audience, interest them, should smile towards the audience. Could you comment? The very first one, the one who said that his name was something Gibrani.
Yes, just he's not angry, but he kind of is he's not smiling, he's not attract attention to the audience, because audience should believe him. Audience should kind of see a small person just in the stage. But for me, but these people kind of seems like he has, I don't know how to say, he's not like smile, he's not like happy, I don't know, he just presents something and that's all. That's not kind of how to say, but I mean, when you present something in the front of the audience, you should every time to smile, because audience should believe you. But audience believe when you smile, when you just kind of do something. But if you're kind of not smiling, seems like you're a little bit angry, not angry, kind of, I don't know how to say correctly, but something like this.
Right. So the first speaker, he did not seem to, he did not produce a confident image.
Yes, this is true, what I want to say.
Why was that? Was it because the guy was not smiling? Why did you feel that he was not confident?
We can consider like a lack of experience. Maybe he was embarrassed with, maybe it's his first conference.
Probably,
like
but what were the signs? How did you understand that the guy was not confident or embarrassed? So he was not smiling. Is that the sign of not being confident?
It depends. I don't know. For example, if my mood is not good from the morning, and it's really possible when I present something, I just do. I have to do this one, but it depends. Maybe he's not confident. and that's why he's not smiling. He just think that he should present. I don't know actually, but at least I know every people should smile during his presentation.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably some of the signs were that he was speaking in a low voice.
Professor.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think that it's very obvious that the first speaker was very, very uncomfortable in front of everybody in the scene. And here are my well, at least my arguments why I think that was so. First of all, if you look closely at minute or second 15, for example, you can see that the guy is actually well, his posture is not straight. That's one first of it. Secondly is his, as you said, his voice tone. It's very low and you can actually hear it. And especially if he's some sort of CEO, if I'm not mistaken, or if he's said to be some sort of CEO for this thing of the box, he seems not very confident presenting his product or whatever he's trying to present. And last, he is, well, if you look in a more detailed way, he's just looking to one single point. He's ignoring to some extent the judges, and he is not providing the attention the audience needs. And also, well, not just the voice. He's not expressing any more ideas. He's just he's just providing everything in a monotone way. So that's what I would say. He was first not uncomfortable. Yes, it could be whatever reason. Probably it was his first appearance or his first paper or whatever it could be. But in any case, he was pretty, well, not very confident about what was he doing.
I see. Thank you so much. Any other comments?
And one more thing is that the last presenter, I guess, was he has face of too much of mimic expressions, I guess. Is it okay to have that much mimic expressions at the same time in this kind of conferences? Isn't it too much?
Well, since you guys are researchers and since you're going to participate in research conferences, I guess you wouldn't want to have that much mimic and emotions. You might want to go neutral. Okay, neutral is generally the case.
What about smiling that we were talking
Smiling
about?
is okay. Yeah, smiling is good. Smiling is always good, surprisingly.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Right. Now we've talked about some potential mistakes, and let me tell you what I'm going to be looking in your presentations. I'm going to show you a presentation on how to make a presentation. Let me share my screen with you. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Right, we're going to start with how to organize your ideas. Then we'll speak about verbal and visual support. And finally, we'll talk about how to deliver your presentation. So we're starting with organizing your ideas. First of all, let's speak about the structure of the presentation. As any piece of communication, as I have already told you, the structure of your presentation will be this. First, you need to have your introduction. In the introduction, you have to start with an opening statement, and then you'll have to introduce your thesis statement. Then you'll have to give a preview of your presentation. That is to say, you will have to say what you're going to talk about. Next is the body of your presentation. The body of your presentation generally should not be more than 5 points. This is due to psychological structure of a human brain, other than anything more than 5 points will not be perceived, and you will lose your audience and people will get bored. And finally, you will need to have your conclusion. In the conclusion, you're reviewing what you have already told your audience, and you make your final statement, which is your closing statement. So this is the presentation structure that I'm going to be looking in your presentations. Please note that preview and review are rather important. Some might think that those are redundant, but they are not. Because, you know, in case of written communication, you can always go back to the written text and you can read whatever you cannot understand again. But with the oral presentation, you do not have such an opportunity. And that is why preview and review are important to drive your meaning, to drive whatever you want to say to your audience. Now, let's speak about how to organize your body. So, as I have already told you, there should not be more than 5 points. In your case, there will be just 3 points. First of all, when you present your points, they should be parallel in structure grammatically. So ideally, your main points should have the same structure, because it will make your audience, it will make it easier for your audience to understand and to follow your thoughts. Okay. Next, any main point that you include into your body, they will have to be connected to your thesis, and they will have to develop your thesis. A thesis is basically what you want to say, what you want to drive to your audience. I have already mentioned that your body should not be more than 5 points. And finally, only one idea per point should be discussed. So your body has to be very tightly structured. Now, let's speak about the introduction. The introduction should be around 10% of your total speaking time. And here we're going to speak about first functions of introductions, and then we'll discuss types of opening. So why do you need the introduction? First of all, you need the introduction to get your listeners' attention. You also need to show your audience the reason why they should listen to you. You need to set the proper tone. You need your introduction to introduce your thesis and to preview the presentation, which is important for communication purposes. And finally, you need your introduction to show the speaker's qualification. You need to persuade your audience that you are worthy of listening. So those are the 5 functions of the introduction. Also, it is important to have an appropriate opening statement. An opening statement is quite useful to get the attention of your audience. Different types of opening statements. You can use different types of opening statements. You can ask a question, you can present a quotation, you can tell a story, you can use humor, you can refer to the audience. Like you can mention something that is true to the group of all the people that are gathered here. You can refer to the occasion, like mentioning the weather or mentioning like the temperature in the room or whatever. And finally, you can make a starting statement. Now, the most effective types of opening statements is telling a story, actually. And asking a question and using humor is also, they're also quite powerful. So those are opening statements. Now we've discussed the introduction. Now let's talk about the conclusion. While the introduction should be around 10%, your conclusion should be even shorter. It should be around 5% of your total speaking time. And your conclusion should include review where you describe what you've told your audience again in very brief words. And you have to include the closing statement. And with a closing statement, and you use your closing statement to make your audience remember your thesis well. Right. So with a review, you have to restate your thesis and summarize main points. Now, this is the redundancy that is required for oral communication. And with a closing statement, as I said, you use closing statement to help your audience to remember your message. Now, types of closing statements are very much similar to the types of opening statements. You can use the same types of statements as you use for opening, but there are 3 more of the types of closing that you could use. That is, return to the opening. If you do so, you have the so-called frame structure, which can be appreciated by many. And then you can end with a challenge or ask for action. That is, if you want to persuade your audience to do something. So ending with a challenge or asking for action might not be appropriate in any situation. Another important part of the presentation structure is transitions. Now, you need to have transitions. You need to have transitions to connect parts of the presentation. Transitions in the presentation are even more important than in writing, because once again, when your audience is listening, they cannot read back. They cannot go back to the text and see which part is over now and which part is starting now. Now, the purpose of the transitions, you need those transitions first to promote clarity, second to emphasize ideas, and finally to keep the listeners interested. Now, where do you add your transition? There will be some places where mandatory transitions are in order. First of all, you need a special transition to show that the introduction is over and you're starting your body. Then you need to have a transition inside the body to show that you're over with one point and you're moving to the next point. And you need a special transition to show that your presentation is over and you're going to conclude now. So those four places, those 4 transitions will be mandatory, and I will be looking for those transitions in your presentations as well. We're going to talk about verbal and visual support for your presentation. Right, why do you need the verbal support or the visual support? Quite obvious, you need that to clear the things up, to prove your point and to interest your audience. Now, what types of verbal support there is? First of all, you've got comparisons, you've got statistics. Statistics has got quite a powerful support power. You've got examples, you've got quotations, and you use quotations to show that somebody important has already said something on the topic, so you're referring to an authority. And the most powerful type of verbal support is stories. Everybody loves stories, and you can support nearly everything with a story, and you can get your audience's interest with a story as well. And the beauty of it is that your story does not have to be a true story. It can be a totally made-up story, but it will still work and it can still get you the attention of your audience. Now, those are the types of verbal support. Now let's speak about the purpose of using visuals. Generally, you can use your visuals to show how things work, to show how things look, to show how things relate, what is the connection between the things. You can use the visuals to emphasize important points, and finally, you can impress the listener, because people might be bored listening to the presentation, and you can just add a little fun to your presentation. Now let's speak about different types of visuals and when to use each type of visual in your presentation. There are generally 8 types of visuals. The first one is objects and models. I believe that this will not be the case in your presentation, since generally you will not be able to use a physical object during your Zoom presentation. Next one is photographs, and photographs are especially useful when you want to provide an example of something or to prove your point. Diagrams are effective when you want to show structure, different structures or different relations. Lists and tables, well, this is something that you want to be careful with. Lists and tables, they have a very specific area of employment. The danger of lists and tables is that they can be really incomprehensible if long. So your lists should not be longer than 3 points, and your tables generally should not have more than three lines. You can use tables when you want to compare 2 things. All right, and you can use lists when you want to provide the succession of some actions or of some steps. But once again, if you're using lists and tables, make sure that those are short, and make sure that those are in very simple words, because generally tables and lists, if long, they are practically non-readable, and they're very destructive. Another thing is pie charts. I understand pie charts are useful when you want to describe percentage and share. Same thing is with bar charts. Infographics. Infographics has got practically the same function as bar charts and the pie charts. The only difference is that infographics is a bit more fun to look at. It takes some more time to generate and to produce, but generally they generate better impression from the audience. And finally, you got your graphs. You can use your graphs. I mean, graphs are effective when you want to demonstrate some changes all the time. There are some rules that you want to stick to when choosing visuals. And there are 3 aspects we can speak about those. So there are some rules for selecting visuals. There are some rules for designing visuals, and there are some rules for presenting the visuals. Let's speak about the selection rules. First of all, if you want to use a visual, you need to understand why you're using that. So any visual that you're using should have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose for the visual, then just don't use it. A blank slide is much better as compared to some non-necessary and redundant visual. Another thing, a visual should be chosen as per the audience. Some visual can be appropriate for one audience and completely inappropriate for the other. So know your audience and choose your visual accordingly. Let us now speak about the design rules for your visuals. First of all, your visual should be large enough for everybody to see it. Okay. Second of all, your visual should be simple. Well, making it simple is actually a key principle to any part or any element of the presentation. The simpler, the better. It is in the presentation that keep it simple and stupid principle works best. Next, you can use as few words you have to use. You might want to use as few words as possible. And if you have your visual, make sure that you label your visual accordingly. You want your audience to understand why they're looking at the visual. And finally, do not write vertically or diagonally. Just write horizontally, because it will be rather difficult for your audience to read anything that is written vertically. Now let's speak about the presentation rules. First of all, you need to practice presenting your visual. You need to know the exact time when your visual is going to be set to be shown. You do not show your visual until you're ready to speak about that. Now, if you show your visual earlier than that, your audience will get distracted and they will pay attention to the visual, not to whatever you're trying to say to your audience. For the same reason, you have to remove your visual right after you've discussed it. Otherwise, it will still be sitting there distracting your audience. And finally, you need to make sure that that your visual will work in the room. You have to make sure that everybody can see it. You have to make sure that there's enough light for everybody to see it. And if you're projecting your presentation on some screen, you have to make sure that the background is good enough to show your visual. Those were the presentation rules. Now we're going to speak about delivering the presentation. We'll discuss some guidelines for delivery. We will tackle upon speaking with confidence, and we'll start discussing how to deal with questions. So let's start with guidelines for delivery. We'll talk about visual delivery, verbal delivery, and vocal delivery here. So let us start with visual delivery. First of all, you're going to have to dress effectively. Don't forget that we're simulating your conference procedure here. So your outfit should be professional enough to cast off your professional air. Next, well, once again, we're simulating the conference procedure. You might want to start setting before you speaking. So once your time is there, you should be absolutely ready. Maintain eye contact. It is important. We have already discussed it today. Maintaining eye contact with the Western culture is a sign of confidence. And you might, I mean, if you're not comfortable with maintaining eye contact, you might want to practice it and to train it. It will give you some confidence points. When you're starting your presentation, it might be a temptation to read off your notes. It might be okay to consult your notes if you're forgetting something, but please do not begin with reading from your notes or from your slides. It does not really produce a very favorable impression. Next is you have to speak with confidence, even despite of the fact that you might not be confident. Okay. You might want to move effectively. It's about gestures. There are closed gestures, there are open gestures. Please avoid closed gestures and go for open ones. Once you've finished your presentation, do not pack up early and move out confidently. The last 2 points will not probably be applicable in this course, but they will surely be applicable in the real life conference. Now, we're speaking about verbal delivery. First of all, with your presentation, you might want to use an oral speaking style. What do I mean by that? First of all, you need to keep most sentences short. This is how speaking is different from writing. Once again, when your audience is reading, okay, they can read back, and they can spend some more time on your long sentences. But with the oral presentation, with the public speaking, you do not have such an option. Therefore, you need to stick to short sentences. So be as short as possible. Next one, please use personal pronouns, avoid passive voice. Actually, using personal pronouns and using active voice, they're very closely related. We have discussed that academic writing style insists on avoiding pronouns like I, we, and you. Okay, but that was just for writing. In case of speaking, please do use I, we, and you, and use active voice. Next thing is use contractions. So instead of saying do not, say don't. Instead of is not, say isn't. And so on.
Professor.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So in this case, we are actually encouraged to use exactly what we were supposed not to use while writing.
Exactly. It's
okay,
vice versa.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Once again, the reason is that it's much more difficult for a person to listen to somebody than to read. Therefore, you're making it easier on them.
I see. I understand. Thank you.
So once again, use an oral speaking style. Next thing is use proper vocabulary and pronunciation. You might want to double check the pronunciation of the words that you're using in your presentation to make sure that you pronounce it all correctly. And the same thing goes for vocabulary. Double check the meaning of the words that you're using. And finally, if you make a mistake, well, act as if you don't. Act as if you don't. Chances are that nobody will notice. So these are just some recommendations on verbal delivery. Now let's talk about vocal delivery. Vocal delivery deals with intonation and with accent. So you need to speak with enthusiasm and sincerity. It will give you more points. It will people will think that you're much more confident if you're speaking with enthusiasm and sincerity. You need to be speaking loud enough to be heard. You probably do remember the first speaker. He was speaking in low voice. He was, and that is why he was producing the image of not being confident of whatever he was saying. Another thing is avoid disfluencies. A disfluency is something like words like that. Well, those are not actually words, they're just sounds. Try to avoid them. They come from lack of practice, and disfluency appears when you're trying to remember whatever you have to say at the moment. Disfluencies are generally killed by numerous repetitions and by abundant practice. So the best way to avoid disfluency is to practice a lot. That was vocal delivery. Now let's speak a bit about confidence, because confidence is key for public presentation, for public speaking. You will be nervous, and it's never possible to kill nervousness altogether. But there's good news. Nervousness will also give you stamina and some agility to deliver your presentation. Chances are that if you are nervous a bit, you will not get monotonous, and you will be interesting enough for your audience. Well, to get around, to avoid excessive nervousness, you have to practice. You have to speak more often, and it will help you to get around nervousness. Another thing is you might want to think rationally, okay? By thinking rationally, I mean that you might want to avoid irrational fears like I will surely fail or something will happen. There's no way for you to know what is going to happen during your speech, during your public presentation. So it will be irrational to even think about it. And finally, practice. Rehearse is king. Practice as much as possible. And if you do so, you're going to be okay. You will be quite confident. And you will be only mildly nervous. Finally, the last thing that I want to speak about today is dealing with questions. First of all, during your graded assignment, you will have to answer questions at the end of the presentation. But in a real life situation, this is not always the case. Generally, when you're delivering a presentation, it might be distracting for you and for your listeners when people ask your questions during the presentation. So it might be wise to ask your audience to keep their questions until the end of the presentation. So let's speak a bit about managing questions. First of all, you might want to anticipate questions. So think about what questions your audience might ask you. Next, when you're answering a question, address all the audience, not just the person who asked you the question. This is just being polite. Next, you might want to respect questions. So please don't say that is a stupid question and I'm not going to answer it. Next thing is about buying time. We actually mentioned buying time. If you cannot answer the question right away, you can buy some time by rephrasing the question. Okay, you can rephrase the question in different words. You can ask the questioner if you understood the question correctly. Okay, you can redirect the question to the questioner. Like you can see, and what do you think the answer to this question is? You can redirect the question to the audience. You can ask the audience, what do you guys think the answer to this question is? So using these techniques, you can buy up to 1 minute to think about the correct answer to the question. And you might want to keep focused. Always keep in mind what was the question about, and try not to get away from that question. Finally, you might want to clarify the question. And once you've answered your last question, please summarize your presentation in 1 sentence. This is for your audience to remember whatever you talked about. Now, this is all I wanted to speak about. Questions?
Professor?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, Professor. Just very quick.
Mm-hmm.
So someone told me, well, before, I mean, long time before, that it's always recommendable to have some sort of guideline or small guideline printed with you to follow your points. But but I also got the same advice of not having such guidelines on hand, because it looks very unprofessional to have something, some sorting in your hands to follow or to keep track on what you're supposed to say. So what would be in this case your recommendation for us for delivering a speech in this case?
Right, I wouldn't go with notes.
With notes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with notes.
Wouldn't go. Okay.
I
nice.
wouldn't have them See,
Yeah, me
the
neither.
thing is
Okay.
that we're simulating conference here, and chances are that you will have your PowerPoint presentation or any other presentation software. I mean, the presentation manufactured in any other presentation software. So you will have, in most cases, you will have the structure of your presentation behind your back on screen, okay? So you will have that outline that you can follow. And generally it will be more than enough.
So no additional
You know,
notes are required. Oh, well,
right.
shouldn't be required.
I feel that having those cards in
No,
your
I mean,
hands
they told me that that's the reason why because you're supposed to, you're the one who is delivering the speech. You're supposed to know the topic. Well, if not perfectly, at least you should know it to some extent. And it looks pretty unprofessional when someone's trying to deliver a speech to some target audience. In this case, professionals in the field, and the person who is delivering the speech has exactly guidelines printed in his hands. That they told me that it looks very, very unprofessional. So I mean, I just wanted to be sure that that was exactly the right path. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would lose the cards.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you're stuck, if you don't remember what you have to say next, just say it so. Tell it to the audience. Chances are that they will help you out. Like,
okay.
What was the last thing I was talking about? It will generally be accepted favorably.
Okay.
Any other questions? Right, let's speak about your home assignment. Your home assignment is to deliver a presentation. Here's the link to the Moodle. You will have to prepare a presentation by Monday. It will be a 5-minute presentation. Right, let me demonstrate my screen to you. So it will be a 5-minute presentation on this topic. So you'll have to prepare a presentation, and you'll have to follow this structure, and you'll have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. Guys, don't forget, this is timeless submission. So please be sure to upload your PowerPoint presentation through Moodle. Okay, then you will come in class, and I will put you in groups, and you will present in front of each other, and you will get feedback as per a certain checklist. Please ask me questions about it.
So this presentation it's linked to the thesis proposed thesis essay.
Excuse me?
Is it linked to the thesis essay, the presentation?
No, it's
or
not.
About anything?
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's like some strange, I mean, some topic that is outside of your essay. We are just practicing now.
Okay.
The structure will be the same as the structure of your graded presentation. But this one
Professor,
is for practice purposes. Yeah.
Once again, is it like a draft or accomplished? I don't understand about this presentation. We have to pass it and it should be accomplished, or it's like a practice, like a draft?
Okay, this is what you're doing. You're making your presentation, and you're making your PowerPoint presentation, and you're getting ready to talk using your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, and before the class, you will have to upload your presentation on Moodle, and for that you will get your submission points. Okay. I'm making it a submission point because I want to make sure that everybody comes to class prepared. And in class, you will practice delivering your presentation in groups, and you will give feedback as per the presentation checklist that I will upload by the beginning of the next class.
And then we have to improve our presentation or not? No. Okay.
You will
okay,
get
thank
the
you.
feedback. You will get the feedback, and then I will give you another topic for a different presentation. You will present another presentation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So we're practicing here. Please ask me some other questions. All right then, if you don't have any other questions, I guess that'll be all for today. Thank you, and we'll see you. Oh yeah, Thursday this week, it's your vocabulary, the usual thing, the quiz and the exercises. All the info is on Moodle. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Professor, I have a question
Swati.
regarding our final research essay submission.
Mhm.
How much of plagiarism is like, not plagiarism, but like originality is allowed?
Well, the lowest digit is 17. So if your similarity is over 17%, your essay will consider to be not original and will not be graded.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I think no.
Okay.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
guys, just to remind you, your essay submission will stay open until midnight tonight. So if you have not submitted, please make sure that you have. Okay, the class is over. Thank you so much, and we'll see you Thursday.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.